Hi guys. So today I wanted to do a little bit of a more informational video so we could start I could stop yapping and we could actually start learning about God in the Bible. So if you see me looking off this way, it is because I made notes about what I would talk about, kind of. But I wanted to talk about literal translations versus dynamic translations in the Bible. So the Bible is translated in two different ways: literally or word for word, and dynamically or thought for thought. This would be like ESV, or KJV is word for word, and then NLT is thought for thought. But literal equivalency is where the translation sticks very close to the original text structure and syntax. So I pulled up two or three examples of how it stays close to the text structure and syntax. First being chiastic structure, where ideas are presented and then repeated in reverse order. So say there's 4 lines in total: line A, line B, B prime, A prime, and not always, but the middle two are typically the most important part of that that phrase or that paragraph. And then another one is parallelism. So the same or contrasting thoughts are repeated in different ways. So there's a lot of different types of parallelism, but I love analogies. So my favorite parallelism is emblematic. That's where the first line illustrates the content of the second line. So the example I have pulled up is Psalms 42:1, and it says, "As the deer pants for the water brooks," the analogy illustrating the second part, "as the deer pants for the water brooks, so pants my soul for you," you being God. So I really like that. And then original text structure, biblical Hebrew was written in VSO order, whereas we talk in SVO order. So the original Bible in its original Hebrew would talk sentence structure as verb, subject, object. We do subject, verb, object. So Genesis 1:1 read literally as, "In the beginning created God the heavens and the earth." So created, the verb, God the subject, the heavens and earth the object. We read it as, "In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth," God the subject, created the verb, the heavens and the earth the object. So like, you might be wondering, why does that even matter? Well, this matters because the choices that they made and the way that they decided to write the Bible and the words they used and the syntax they used show so many things. It shows which parts of the story are most important and what theme they were trying to impress on us. It shows cultural context and meanings that we would not ever be able to understand without the context that the Bible was written in. It helps you understand where you are in the scripture and why the scripture was written. It helps you identify the different genres. So like Psalms are more in a poetic poetry manner, and it helps you understand that. And then it's very good for studying. Like, all of those go together to make it very good for scholars to study the Bible and to understand more about God and how the Bible is written. So that's word for word. And then thought for thought is dynamic equivalency. So this covers the meaning of the stories in modern language and modern syntax. So the idioms and the cultural references that we wouldn't understand because we didn't live back then are translated in ways that we would understand now. So this is bringing to mind something that I recently was talking about with a group of people. The armor of God. Each piece of armor means something different and has cultural meaning in the original Hebrew translation of the Bible that we do not understand, because we don't go to war with Romans wearing armor and sending fiery arrows at people and fighting with swords and shields. Like, we don't understand those references because we weren't born then. So dynamic equivalency helps us understand the references in a way that we would understand now. So for example, the KJV version, what? I did not write down the verse for this, so I don't know what verse it is, but the KJV version says, "Wherefore gird up the loins of your mind, be sober, and hope to end for the grace that is to be brought unto you at the revelation of Jesus Christ." That actually takes like a lot of thought and like a lot of studying to be able to understand what any of that means. But the NLT version says, "So prepare your mind for actions and exercise and self-control. Put all your hope in the gracious salvation that will come to you when Jesus Christ is revealed to the world." So that makes a lot more sense. But what was the KJV version even saying? What did that mean? Where was that coming from? Gird up the loins of your mind is referencing when the Bible was written in its original context, men wore long skirts. If you've ever been to Sunday school and drawn a picture of that, or seen a picture of Jesus, or even watched like The Chosen, like, you know, the long garments that I was talking about. But that, if you're a girl, you know how hard it is to run in a long dress or a long skirt. Like, it's hard to fight or to do heavy work. So they had to lift the hem, pull it in between their legs, and then come around and tuck it into the belt. So they were girding up their loins, and they're saying do that for your mind. So in the NLT version, that's replaced with the literal meaning that Peter was saying: remove mental clutter and have disciplined faith for when Jesus comes back. And like, NLT is important, and I would say it's more for beginners, because the more that you grow in your faith, like, the more you'll understand the meanings behind the stories. So then you can start to learn the cultural references, because those are just as important. So every single translation is equally as important, but I would say don't just settle with the easiest level. Like, try and build your way up and learn more about the original context of the Bible. But that's all I've got for this. This is a pretty long video, the longest one I've done so far, but I hope somebody found that interesting and somebody learned something. So see you next time. Bye.